The meeting had barely ended before I was out of my chair, pulse still thrumming with irritation. Half at marketing's smug dismissal of my proposal, half at the way Jordan sat across from me the entire time, smiling like he knew exactly how close I was to snapping. I ducked into the first empty conference room, shut the door, and braced my palms against the table. My reflection in the dark glass looked like a man in a tailored suit, sharp collar, but inside, my nerves buzzed. The door clicked again. Of course. Jordan, my analyst, my headache, my undoing. He leaned against the door, rolling up his sleeves like we weren't at work, like this was just another room we'd claimed. You always exit that? He said. Or was that performance just for me, boss? I didn't turn. Not in the mood. Yeah, you are. He moved closer, slow and deliberate. You're only like this when you're holding yourself together. You're cute when you're about to crack. No one called me cute. No one would dare. But Jordan wasn't anyone else. He was bold, reckless, beautiful in a way that made my better judgment useless. And I let him. God help me, I always let him. You shouldn't be in here, I muttered, even as my eyes flicked to his mouth. Well, he said, stepping closer until his body heat pressed against mine, here I am. That was all it took. His mouth crashed into mine, and I kissed him back hard. This wasn't new. This was ritual. His kisses were always a dare. Teeth, heat, a promise to push me until I stopped pretending. My hands fisted in his shirt and yanked him closer when I should have pushed him away. He groaned against my mouth, low and wrecked, and the sound dragged a noise out of me I didn't recognize. Quiet, he breathed, lips brushing my ear. Director's still down the hall. I can't. You can, he said, grinning. Unless you want them to hear how bad you want me. I bit my lip, but it was useless. His hands were already on my hips, pressing me into the edge of the table. My body leaned into him like it knew the script by heart. Reckless. Addicted. My name is Carlos Mendez, head of strategy at Ardent & Company, which means I should live on discipline, not scandal. I should know better than to get involved with someone on my team. Knowing better and doing better are two different things. Jordan Reyes blurred every line the handbook ever said. This wasn't a one-off mistake in a dark conference room. We've been doing this for months. It started as stress relief, two adults blowing off steam behind closed doors. But somewhere along the way, it shifted. He started showing up with coffee before my morning meetings, perfectly made, bringing breakfast when I forgot to eat. Once, after a 36-hour crunch, he shoved a blanket at me and ordered me to nap on the couch in my office. It felt almost like dating. Almost. We never defined it. We never spoke the words. Maybe that was the problem. We should have defined our relationship, but I didn't, and now I have gone too far with him to the extent that Jordan had power over me, and he didn't even realize it. How easily I bent for him. I'd slipped in projects I should have assigned elsewhere, defended him in exec reviews, smoothed deadlines he should have managed on his own. I told myself it was fine because he was brilliant. But in the back of my mind, I knew I was crossing lines I couldn't uncross all because I'd started to feel something more than lust for him. Love. Yes, I was falling for him. I should have known better. I always should have known better. But when Jordan leaned against my desk one Thursday, grinned lazy, eyes bright, and said, "Boss, come out with us tomorrow. Birthday thing for Camila. Everyone's going. You should too?" I heard myself say yes, even though parties and crowded bars aren't my scene. But Jordan asked, and when Jordan asked, I gave in. Maybe that was my first mistake. The bar was exactly what I dreaded. Sticky floors, too much perfume clinging to the air, bass vibrating through my ribs. Our team was crammed into a booth, already tipsy, voices raised over the music. I sat at the edge, a soda sweating in my hand, pretending I was part of it while my eyes kept drifting to him. Jordan was magnetic. He laughed too loud, tossed back tequila like water, spun stories with his hands flying, every person at that booth hanging on his words. He is 26 and free-spirited, the kind of person who could walk into any room and belong instantly. I was 32, the boring one. The introvert, the man with perfect portfolio and a reputation for being sharp but unapproachable. No one ever called me magnetic. No one ever watched me like that. Except Jordan. Or so I thought. I stayed for an hour with the team before I made my way to the restroom. My social battery was already drained, every nerve itching to escape. I hadn't planned on staying long anyway. When I got to the restroom, I stayed there for a while just to recharge before heading out. Maybe I should have stayed longer. Maybe that would have spared me the pain of hearing those words that turned my world upside down. Just as I was about to leave the rest area, I heard voices, one which I know all too well. "Please." Jordan's voice floated over the throb of bass, cocky and careless. "Carlos has me covered. He always does. Perks of keeping the boss happy, right? A laugh answered him. Mail. One of the analysts from another department. Man, you've got it made. I froze. The words cracked like glass inside me. Perks of keeping the boss happy. That was me. That was us. He hadn't lowered his voice. He hadn't even tried. Just threw it out like a joke, like the months of stolen touches and late nights meant nothing more than leverage. Heat crawled up my neck. My chest hollowed out until I couldn't breathe. So that's what I was to him. Not the man who stayed up with him until midnight finishing projects. Not the one who let deadlines slip, who brought him into meetings he wasn't supposed to be at because I wanted to see him shine. I was a shortcut, a convenience, something to laugh about over drinks. I got out through the side exit before anyone noticed. The metal door slammed shut, muffling the music but not the words. They looped in my head, sharper each time. Perks of keeping the boss happy. I leaned against the wall outside, fists pressed into my eyes until sparks burst behind them. I should have known. I should have seen it. But I've been lonely too long, too used to cold apartments and failed relationships that fizzled before they ever warmed up. Jordan had been different. He made me laugh when I didn't want to. He brought me coffee exactly the way I liked it. He looked at me like I wasn't just another suit in a long line of executives. And I let myself believe. Stupid. Gullible. 32 years old. Falling for a 26-year-old who probably thought of me as nothing more than a bed and a stepping stone. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Jordan. Where'd you go? I stared at it until the screen dimmed. My chest was pounding with the ugly truth. I'd fallen for my subordinate, and he was only ever using me. Hey Daydreamers, thanks for tuning in. If you're liking this story so far, tell us where you're listening from in the comment section and hit the subscribe and notification buttons so you don't miss any story uploads. Let's continue. I knew Jordan Reyes long before he was on my team. He wasn't invisible. No one like him ever was. Different department, different projects, but I'd seen the way people lit up around him. He's the kind of man who filled every room with his laugh, who made life look effortless. The exact opposite of me, which unfortunately made him my type. So when he transferred into strategy, a promotion for him, a headache for me, I bristled. Not because he wasn't good. He was brilliant. Too brilliant. I'd spent years building my walls. And suddenly the man who'd been a dangerous glance across the floor was in my meetings, calling me boss. And didn't waste any time before he started flirting with me in every way he can. I really didn't want to read into it just to spare myself of any delusions, but then the Denver project came in. My team had to travel out of office to Denver for this project. It was the kind of account that eats executives alive. Unreal deadlines, clients who change their minds mid-sentence, 12-hour days stretched into 14. We lived out of hotel rooms and ran on stale coffee. I expected Jordan to coast, smooth talk his way around the edges like always. Instead, he shocked me. He worked hard. His ideas were sharp, fast, and unexpected. He didn't flinch when clients pushed back. He pushed harder in ways that turned the room. My team leaned on him more than I wanted to admit, and he carried it. And the whole time, in front of everyone, he remained professional. But when it was just us, he became different. His touches lingered a minute too long. His eyes held mine a beat too long. He wasn't hiding what he wanted, and did everything nonverbal to communicate that to me. I could see it, although I kept telling myself that it's all in my head. I didn't want to be the kind of man who saw things that weren't there. But the way he kept looking at me was becoming impossible to ignore. When the project wrapped, I took the team out. Drinks on me. They deserved it. The bar was crowded, buzzing with relief and alcohol. I sat back and watched him, laughing with the others, his hand brushing his shoulder as he told some story. People bent toward him like gravity shifted when he moved. And still his eyes kept finding mine. After a while I slipped outside for air, cigarette between my fingers, grateful for the dark. Didn't know you smoked. I turned. It was Jordan. He followed me out, stepping into the shadow, hands in his pockets, smile softer than the one he wore in meetings. Yes, want one. I offered the pack. He shook his head, then stepped closer to me, eyes locked sharply on me. The silence between us was too tense. I had to break it somehow. You did good this week, I said, finally. His brow lifted. You think so? I don't say things I don't mean. Something flickered in his eyes. He shifted even closer, the heat of him bleeding into my space. I worked my ass off, you know, he said, voice lower now. Had to impress you somehow. Why? You don't need to impress me. I said slowly. Then give me a reward. His lips quirked. If you really think I did well. I scoffed. What do you want, a gold star? No. His voice was a murmur now. I have something else in mind. Before I could ask, he plucked the cigarette from my mouth. drew in slow, his unwavering, and exhaled smoke between us like a challenge. My pulse jumped. Jordan. Just then he leaned in and kissed me hard like he'd been waiting all week for it. My back hit brick at the force of his lip, and his hand moved to cradle my jaw, and every thought I'd been burying burned away. I kissed him back before my brain caught up. Harder. Desperate. And when he pulled back, there was a silent agreement that passed between us that this is not going to end there. So we moved back to the hotel. I don't remember the walk, only his hand on me, guiding, claiming, like he wasn't going to let me change my mind. The door had barely clicked shut before his mouth was on mine again, hotter, hungrier. He shoved me onto the bed, and I let him. His hands roamed, bold and unafraid, every touch sparking heat through me. I'd dated before, slept with people before, but this was different. He matched me move for move, like he knew exactly how to push, how to take, how to give back until I was lost in him. He pulled sounds from me I didn't know I had, made me ache in ways I didn't think possible. And when it was over, when the air was thick and my body wrecked, I realized the truth I didn't want to say out loud. I'd never been consumed like that. Not by anyone. And God help me, I wanted it again. The next morning wasn't as awkward as I thought it would be. Jordan woke first, sunlight breaking through the hotel blinds. He leaned down, pressed a kiss to my cheek, light, teasing, and whispered, "Thanks for the reward, boss." Then he was gone, just like that. And when we returned to the office, it was as if nothing had happened. He was polite, professional, respectful in meetings. If anyone else was watching, they'd think we'd never so much as spoken outside of work. But I knew better. The way his eyes lingered a second too long, the curve of his mouth when no one else was looking. He looked at me like a man who'd already had me once and was already planning how to do it again. And I couldn't shake him. Couldn't shake the way he'd wrapped around me that night, the way I'd taken him apart, the way he'd laughed softly against my mouth like I was his undoing. The memory stuck under my skin, sharp and addictive. For a week, we didn't talk about it. Just silence and stolen glances. I almost convinced myself it had been a one-off, a mistake. I was wrong. One evening, long after the floor had emptied, I was still bent over my laptop, grinding through reports when my office door clicked open. Jordan. He leaned against the frame, sleeves rolled up, hair a little undone. Burning the midnight oil again. His voice was soft, almost careful. Deadlines. I muttered, eyes fixed on screen. Silence stretched, heavy. I felt his gaze crawl across my skin before he finally moved closer. Need my help? I could take some of the load off. I've got it. He stopped at the edge of my desk, close enough that the air shifted. He hesitated, then said, "About Denver. It was a mistake. I cut in too fast. Too defensive." He stilled. When I finally looked up, his expression wasn't smug or amused. It was sharp, almost pained. "You think so? Then why can't you look me in the eye?" I froze. His gaze locked with mine, steady, unflinching. Then he braced his hands on my desk, caging me in. "I haven't stopped thinking about it," he said quietly. "Neither have you. Jordan, tell me you don't want this, boss. Say the words, and I'll walk out right now." I couldn't. He saw the hesitation, saw me falter, and then his mouth was on mine. Soft at first, deliberate, testing. It undid me. I grabbed his tie, yanked him closer, and kissed him harder, letting the fire of that night in Denver flood back through me. His laugh broke against my mouth, breathless, and then he was on me, hands greedy, body pressing mine into the chair. Reports forgotten, rules burned away. I took him right there on my desk until we were both wrecked and gasping. And that was the start of it. By the end of the week, we were sneaking into supply closets, stealing minutes in empty rooms, burning through every shred of restraint we pretended to have. Neither of us ever called it an arrangement, but we slid into rules all the same. No eye contact in meetings. No texting during office hours. No touching anywhere with cameras. And no talking about what this was. It was safer that way. Cleaner. Just two men scratching an itch. At least, that's what I told myself. But Jordan started doing things that kept confusing me and sending my heart into overdrive. His knee brushing mine in conference rooms. His fingers grazing my hand when he dropped off reports. The coffees, sometimes plain black, sometimes exactly how I liked it, left on my desk without a word. Just a look, a smirk, and then he'd walk away, leaving me staring after him like an idiot. He never said anything about it, but he didn't have to. He was weaving himself into my days, into my space, until the thought of going without him left me restless. One Wednesday, he called me to the copy room, said the machine was jammed. When I walked in, he wasn't near the printer. He was leaning against the table, arms crossed, watching me. "Where's the jam?" I asked. "There isn't one." His smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "I just wanted to see you." I rolled my eyes, but heat crept up my neck all the same. "You saw me an hour ago." "Yeah," he said, tilting his head. "But you didn't look at me." That was Jordan. He tossed out lines like they meant nothing. And I spent nights replaying them like they meant everything. We didn't stop. What started in conference rooms and late nights at the office spilled into hotel rooms, apartments, anywhere we could steal a few hours. It was reckless, addictive in a way that scared me. Jordan had awakened something in me I didn't know existed, some restless, hungry part of myself that only he seemed able to reach. Nights bled into mornings. Mornings into workdays where we pretended nothing had happened, except for the looks that lasted too long and the way my skin still burned where he touched me. I told myself it was just lust, stress relief, a bad habit I'd break when I got tired of it. But then I started missing him, scanning the break room just to see if he was there, noticing when he didn't text after hours, wanting something I knew I had no right to want. And worse than missing him, I started getting jealous. Jordan flirted with everyone. That was just who he was. He teased the receptionist, charmed the waitress, and made interns blush with a grin and 2 words. It was harmless, supposedly. But every time I saw his hand brush someone else's arm, every time his smile landed anywhere but on me, something twisted sharp in my chest. I hated myself for it. We weren't exclusive. We weren't even anything. Still, I wanted him to myself. And wanting him made me feel weak in a way I didn't know how to fight. The quarterly mixer didn't help. Some rented a lounge downtown, overpriced drinks, fake laughter. I should have blended into the crowd, but my eyes kept finding him. Jordan was in his element, standing in the center of everything, orbiting attention like it was his birthright. The waitress lingered at his elbow. He leaned close enough to make her laugh. And I sat there, whiskey burning down my throat, reminding myself over and over that I was his boss. That confessing anything would make me pathetic. Imagine telling my younger subordinate I wanted him all to myself. And what would he do? Laugh. Shrug it off like every other line he blurred? Especially when I'd already heard whispers of that blind date he went on last week. He hadn't denied it, just changed the subject. To him, maybe this was nothing. To me, it was already too much. At some point, he caught me staring. Of course he did. His eyes locked on mine across the room, and his mouth curved slowly smug. He lifted his glass in a silent toast. I should have looked away. Instead, I raised mine back. And later that night, when the others had gone to their hotel rooms, he slipped into mine without knocking. Kissed me like he'd been waiting all evening to burn the jealousy out of me. And I let him. The next morning, I tried so hard to focus on the meeting we came for, but Jordan made it all so difficult. He sat next to me and spread his legs so they brushed against me. It should not have prickled my nerves like that, especially when we went at it till early hours of the morning, but that didn't stop the bolt of electricity that shot through me every time his knees brushed mine. At first, I thought it was just me being overly hyper about his presence, and he was just minding his business, but when I pulled away, he followed, and then his fingers slowly slid across my thigh in a touch that stole my breath. I turned to glare at him, ready to snap, but he was already looking at me, eyes lit with challenge. Across the table, our supervisor cleared her throat. "Everything okay down there?" I jolted, heat rushing up my neck. "All good," Jordan said easily, smiling like he hadn't just set me on fire under the table. I didn't trust myself to speak. He didn't stop, and I could barely hold it together till the meeting ended. When we left the room, I cornered him in the hallway behind the break room, where the cameras didn't reach. "You're going to get us caught." He only shrugged. "Not my fault. You're so jumpy. You touched me. You didn't say stop." Fury and want tangled so tightly in me that I could hardly breathe. He stepped closer, caging me against the wall, his scent wrapping around me. "You like it," he murmured. "No, I don't." "Then why haven't you stopped me?" I had no answer. And when he leaned in, mouth brushing mine, I didn't push him away. He kissed me like he knew he'd already won. And maybe he had. That was us. Reckless. Careless. Dangerous. I told myself it was just lust, but the more he found ways to touch me, the more I craved him. And deep down, I knew I wasn't imagining the truth anymore. I'd started to really fall for him, which is why hearing him at that birthday party, hearing him say I was nothing but a perk, cut deeper than I could have imagined. I thought I was prepared for anything Jordan could throw at me. His cocky grins, his relentless flirting, his games. But this was different. This felt like betrayal, and it hurt more than I wanted to admit. The words looped in my head like a cruel recording. His easy tone, the smirk in his voice, the analyst's laugh. Perks of keeping him happy. That's what I was. Not someone he wanted, not someone he cared about. A perk. A shortcut. The worst part? I'd let him. I'd wanted him. I let myself believe the coffees and breakfasts, the late nights and stolen touches, meant something more. That maybe I wasn't the only one blurring the line between lust and something dangerously close to love. I spent the rest of the weekend nursing my broken heart once more, and then came to a resolution to put an end to things with him. At this point, I was just so damn tired of being used over and over again. So I was determined to build my walls back home. Maybe love wasn't for people like me. The sooner I accept that fact, the better it will be for me. When Monday rolled in, I buried myself in work until the numbers blurred, doing anything to keep my eyes from drifting toward him. Because every time they did, I remembered how close I'd come to confessing the truth. How badly I'd wanted him to be mine, even when I knew better. The sight of him made me furious. At him for making me feel, and at myself for falling. And of course, he noticed. Jordan was never built to be ignored. He thrived on reactions, on teasing, on pushing until you cracked. When I stopped giving him anything, he only pressed harder. By afternoon, he appeared at my desk with a stack of reports, flashing me a stupid grin. Afternoon, boss. Thought I'd brighten your day. I didn't look up. You were supposed to email those on Friday. My voice came out harsher than I intended. Ouch. He pressed a hand to his chest, mock offended. Guess someone woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I don't have time for games. He leaned in, close enough that his voice was just for me. Is there something wrong? Carlos, you ignored my calls and never replied to my text all weekend. The way he said my name scraped raw against my chest. My grip tightened on the mouse until my knuckles blanched. I had other things to do, and perhaps you need to focus on finishing something without me holding your hand. His grin faltered at that, and a bolt of hurt flickered across his face, sharp and unguarded, before he dropped the reports and walked away. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt gutted. But that didn't break my resolve. I ignored him every chance I got and went the extra mile in making sure we were never in the same space at work. Till one evening, long after everyone else had left, I heard footsteps in the quiet. Burning the midnight oil. His voice was careful. I didn't turn. Some of us take our jobs seriously. Funny, he said. I thought you took me seriously too. Guess I was wrong. I spun so fast my chair squealed. Don't twist this like I'm the problem. Then tell me what the problem is. Because 1 second he cut himself off, glanced at the door, then dropped his voice. Whatever this is. And the next, you act like I don't exist. The truth clawed up my throat. Because I care, because I wanted more, because you used me. But saying it would hand him a weapon he'd already proven he could use. So I gave him the one line sharp enough to cut us both. Maybe you don't. His expression cracked. Pain, quick and devastating, before he covered it with a brittle laugh. Guess I'll let you get back to your work, boss. And then he was gone. After that, he avoided me. Not enough for anyone else to notice. Jordan was too good at masks, but I felt it. No coffee on my desk. No sly touches when no one was watching. No lingering in doorways with that half-smile that used to undo me. It was colder, cleaner, professional. I told myself it was better this way, that I didn't want him near me, that the hookups had been reckless, dangerous, meaningless. But the silence gutted me. The brightness he brought to every room dimmed, and suddenly the office felt smaller, emptier. By the end of the week, the silence between us felt alive, pulsing in every room we shared, in every empty glance I caught myself searching for. 2 weeks passed like that. 2 weeks of pretending his absence didn't scrape at me raw. I thought if I froze him out long enough, it would kill whatever this was. It didn't. That evening, I stayed back in the office close to midnight, staring at numbers I couldn't see when the door slammed open hard enough to shake the walls. Jordan, he looked wrecked, hair disheveled, shirt untucked, eyes wild like sleep had abandoned him days ago. He shut the door and leaned on it, chest rising and falling. What do you want? I asked, my voice flat. Jordan let out a humorless laugh. What do I want? You've been freezing me out like I don't exist, and you're asking me that. You seem fine. I forced my eyes back to the screen. Bullshit. His voice cracked. 3 strides, and he slammed my laptop shut. You won't talk to me, won't look at me, like you can't stand being in the same room. And I'm supposed to just take it? I shoved my chair back. Don't act like you don't know why. His jaw tightened. I don't. You ignore my texts. You won't say a word to me at work? If I don't know what I did wrong, how the hell am I supposed to fix it? The words ripped out before I could stop them. You told a bar full of people I was just a perk. That keeping me happy was how you coast. He froze. The color drained from his face. My chest heaved. Was that all I was to you? A shortcut? A joke to brag about over beers? His voice came rough, desperate. No. God, no. Don't lie to me. My anger surged, hot and shaking. I was stupid enough to think maybe. I cut myself off before the rest betrayed me. Papers scattered as he shoved them aside, bracing his hands on either side of me, boxing me in against the credenza. His face was raw, stripped of every cocky layer. You think I'd risk my job? Risk you for a joke? His voice cracked. Then why say it? My words came thin, breaking under their own weight. His throat worked. Because I was scared. Scared if I told you what this was for me, you'd shut me down. Easier to make it a joke than admit how much I wanted you. Something inside me stilled. My anger wavered under the weight of his honesty. You terrify me, Carlos, he whispered. You're sharp, untouchable, everything I'm not. If I'd said to stop being just sex a long time ago, what if you laughed? What if you walked away? I searched his face, looking for the mask, the smirk. There wasn't one. Just him. Bare. Frightened. You think this was just fun for me? I asked quieter now. You tell me, he said, eyes locked on mine. You're the one who shut me out. The truth clawed its way out of me. Because I started to want more. And then I heard you laugh about me like I was nothing. His expression crumpled. I'm sorry. I was an idiot. I pushed too hard. Screw things up when it matters most. But this? Us? I don't want to lose it. I'd been ready to hate him. It would have been easier. But hearing him stripped down like this, no armor left, it cracked something in me. I miss you, he said quietly. No bravado. No grin. Just the truth. Raw and plain. More than I know how to say. My first instinct was to shove him away, to protect myself before he could cut me again. But the way he looked at me, unsteady, stripped bare, pinned me to the spot. You don't get to play with me. I hissed, my voice trembling. Not with my feelings. I'm not, he said just as fast. Not before, and sure as hell not now. He stepped closer, slow, giving me every chance to pull back. I didn't. When his arms came around me, I let them. I didn't know if I believed him. I only knew the thought of losing him felt worse than anything. Just to be clear, he murmured near my ear, I have feelings for you. Real ones. This isn't just sex, and it's not perks. And perhaps I've never asked you for anything. He was right. Through everything. He never once asked me for favors. Everything I'd done for him, I'd done on my own. The realization burned. I should have apologized. Instead, the only words that came out were a hoarse, God, you're infuriating. A laugh cracked out of him, shaky but real. Then his mouth was on mine. This kiss wasn't reckless or sly. It was desperate. Messy hands and hair, teeth scraping lips, breath stolen like we'd been drowning without it. He kissed me like I was oxygen, like he was terrified I'd vanish if he didn't hold on tight enough. I bit down hard enough to make him curse, and his laugh broke against my mouth. The sound undid me. Okay. I breathed at last, forehead pressed to his. One date. The smile that broke over his face wasn't cocky. It was soft, real, and maybe that was why I let him kiss me again. Slow this time, lingering like a promise neither of us had dared speak until now. By Friday night, I'd almost talked myself out of it. 6 times, maybe 7. Dinner was too much. Dinner was real. But then he showed up outside my apartment, hair neatly combed, shirt pressed, holding a small bunch of flowers like it meant something. Like I meant something, and I went. I half expected some sleek restaurant, a dark booth, wine glasses catching candlelight. Instead, we wound up by the river, sitting shoulder to shoulder on a worn park bench, cartons of Chinese takeout balanced on our knees while the city shimmered across the water. Jordan cracked his chopsticks with a grin. Date of the year, he announced. I snorted. You brought noodles to a park bench. Romantic and affordable, he shot back. You're welcome. I tried to hold back a smile. Failed. For a while we just ate, the easy silence a kind of truce. Then he set his food aside, leaning back to look at me. I don't do this, he said softly. Do what? This. His hand gestured between us. Dates. Letting anyone see me sit still. I raised a brow. So why me? The smirk slipped off his face. Because I like you, he said quietly. Really, really like you, and you are sexy and know your way around my body that gives me chills, so yeah. I am hooked. The words hit somewhere low in my chest, sharp and warm at once. I should have laughed them off, should have built another wall. But I didn't. It might have been easy to get into my pants, but I'm not easy to date, I murmured. Good, he said. Easy's boring. His fingers brushed mine, then took hold. Not sneaky. Not teasing, just steady. And I let him. When he kissed me at the end of the night, it wasn't rushed or reckless. It was slow, intentional. The kind of kiss that says I'm still here instead of I'm getting away with this. And for the first time, I let myself believe it might actually work. 2 weeks later, in the middle of a Monday meeting, I stopped pretending. Jordan strolled in late, flashed me that grin across the room, and something inside me steadied instead of flinched. I stood, clear my throat. Before we start, my voice was calm, clear. I want to make an announcement. Jordan and I are dating. It's not against company policy. It won't affect our work. But I'd rather you hear it from me than from rumors. Silence. Then a ripple of whispers. Someone muttered, "Finally." Jordan froze for a beat, then recovered, sauntering over to throw an arm around my shoulders with that impossible grin. Best boss I've ever had. Laughter broke the tension. The meeting rolled on. But when I sat back down, his fingers slid into mine under the table, warm and steady. "You didn't have to do that," he whispered. "Yes," I said, eyes on the slides. "I did, because for once I wasn't ashamed. For once I wasn't hiding." And when his thumb traced over my knuckles and I tightened my grip back, I realized the thing I'd been afraid of all along wasn't losing control. It was finally letting myself have something real. Thanks for listening to this story. If you enjoy this story, share your enthusiasm in the comment section, and don't forget to hit the subscribe and notification buttons so you don't miss any story uploads. See you in the next one.